the rainy state today. Well, you know, immigration, as we've been reporting, is one of the top issues this midterms. President Trump aims to try and make it a central focus of his rallies. He talks about it at every single rally. But will immigration concerns actually drive voters to the polls? Well, here to break it all down for us is Heritage Foundation's Vice President of National Security and Foreign Policy, James Carafano. James, good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Well, first of all, everyone's freaking out that the troops are going out of the border. But look, President Obama and George W. Bush sent National Guard troops down to the border to help out with immigration enforcement. What's your view?
And so did Woodrow Wilson. I mean, look, sending troops to the border in a crisis mode is something that we've been doing a long time. We created NORTHCOM, which is the military command over the United States. One of their missions is to deal with migration crises, whether it was the Cuban boat lift that we saw back under Carter and it was Reagan, I guess, or today. This is something they plan for. And what people don't think about is everybody has this vision: the troops are going to run down the border, they're going to stand there with bayonets. You know, that's not what they're for. Matter of fact, the most valuable thing that the troops are doing on the border is now going down, prepping the border, prepping the logistics, reinforcing places that the border guard needs. So the bulk of their work will actually be done before the first caravan shows up.
But the Democrats are calling it a political ploy. 100 Democratic members of Congress wrote to Defense Secretary Mattis saying this is a total waste of money.
Right. First of all, we didn't decide when they were going to run to the border. The migrants did. Second of all, the cost of dealing with illegal migration once it's inside the United States completely will wipe out anything that we were going to spend in military deployment. And the most important is, and this is where we really need to put politics aside, if this becomes a standard tactic, tens of thousands of migrants marching on the border on a routine basis, the border becomes completely uncontrollable. So we have to break the cycle of thinking that this is the way to storm the border.
Well, how do we do that? The president has talked about asylum reform, for example. You know, these people, they'll show up at the border, they'll claim asylum. He has claimed there's some asylum fraud. I mean, how bad is it when you have the women and children and others, and there are many men talking about jobs? That doesn't count for asylum. But how bad an issue is that really? And how widespread do you think asylum abuse is?
Well, it is a large problem, and for two. One is because of the court order and the way that's interpreted in dealing with families at the border and having to move children out of detention, and also because the Obama administration was very broad and open-ended in processing claims. And so what that did is it created a massive incentive for human traffickers, who often make thousands of dollars off of every one of these cases, to organize fake families and send them to the border. So we've created a behavior, and we have to break that behavior. So reform is really important, and the Congress does have to step in, because we have these court precedents, which really can only be dealt with by Congress clearly stating how the law should work.
And if Congress flips to the Democrats, what do you expect? Would that be the Dreamer situation, travel ban, scrapped, and the border wall funding?
Yeah,
out the window.
Well, I mean, it'll be complete deadlock regardless of who. I mean, the House is going to be so close, it's unlikely we're going to see significant immigration legislation regardless of who gets in power. But you know what? It's important that we continue to work at this, because at some point, people in Congress are going to vote on this, and the more we talk about it, the more we think about it, when we get serious about it, we can deal with this, and eventually we have to do that.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like that, especially when you raise some of those type of issues. James Carafano, we'll see what happens Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Arthel?
Thank you. And now we're